Today, I want to take a closer look at three topics impacting either NVIDIA or AMD. And too long don't watch if you guys don't have enough time for the full descriptive video. The first topic I want to take a closer look at is there are reports that we are going to see some more export restriction controls in the upcoming days for NVIDIA and AMD. This is causing NVIDIA and AMD stocks to be down after hours today. The second thing is AMD today was down roughly 4% after an analyst cut their price target from $200 to $110. Obviously having to do with NVIDIA being a big competitor, and that caused the stock price to go down. Now, the third thing we're going to look at is NVIDIA at the CES Fire Chat analyst keynote. Jensen Huang mentioned some pretty interesting things about the ASIC market and why the ASIC market is not something that NVIDIA is scared of. And he actually even taunted, in my opinion, the market that's saying, hey, look, wait 2 years from now to see who really is kind of the big player in this space. So those are the three topics we're going to discuss. So hopefully you enjoy it. But if you want to get more information about each of these topics, stay tuned. But first, make sure to hit the thumbs up. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Check out the pinned comment for special offers at fool.com/Jose. And check out my daily semiconductor newsletter, whatthechip.happened.com. So let's get started. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode. All right, so like I mentioned, the first topic I want to take a closer look at is why NVIDIA and AMD are down. So there are reports coming out that the Biden administration is going to tighten restrictions, export restrictions to NVIDIA and AMD. Obviously, we are going to, based on the reports, and the reports came out here earlier this afternoon by Reuters. They did announce kind of this information, and we're going to have to stay tuned. There's also rumors floating around X that maybe the Trump administration would kind of remove these kind of restrictions if applied. So this is the thing about the semiconductor market and being any form of semiconductor investor. One thing, many people believe that, hey, look, this is just something happening with the previous administration and the upcoming administration about export restrictions. But if you've been a semiconductor investor for numerous years, every administration has some form of geopolitical tension, and these geopolitical tensions usually end up impacting semiconductor investors. So this is a normal risk. We just never know what the real risk is going to be. But I think as semiconductor investors, we know that that's something to be expected, especially since at the end of the day, semiconductor products are used for the most advanced technology. So in forms of export restrictions or any form of geopolitical tensions, that's usually the kind of products that get impacted the most. So as a semiconductor investor, this volatility is super normal. At the moment, based on the reports, we still are expected to have no real damage to our allied countries like Japan, Europe, and Australia. Obviously, it's going to be more stricter restrictions to countries and companies in China and Russia, and also a new curbs on Southeast Asia and Persian Gulf states that are aimed at preventing AI chips from falling into the hands of China and Russia. Right, so it seems like most of these export restrictions are going to fall into maybe neighboring countries around those that are already restricted, and it's going to be more now on a company and country basis as well. So again, this is creating some form of negative reaction for companies like NVIDIA, down roughly 1% after hours, and AMD is down roughly 0.7%. Obviously, NVIDIA is going to be the most impacted for something like this, as they are the big player here in the AI data center space. But I want to say, I believe demand is so high all over the world as of right now that things like this is not really going to impact revenue in the short term of things, as they will be able to kind of offset that revenue with other customers in countries or companies that they can ship to. So as an investor, if I was looking for this to impact in the short term financials, I don't think this would be anything I would be concerned about. Now, again, remember, we are getting the Trump administration coming in a few weeks from now. So there could be massive changes, and and that is going to create even either more volatility to the upside or downside, depending on what happens with that administration. So always be worried, not worried, but always be worry. Is that the word? Where you have to always kind of keep in mind that something could happen. And that's just the normal state of the semiconductor industry. Now, I want to stick with AMD because AMD today saw a huge hit. The stock was down roughly 4%, sitting at $121. You guys know I'm bullish on AMD. But at the same time, you guys know that I believe AMD is not the next NVIDIA, and I am going to continue to stand by that. I believe AMD is one of those companies that has a lot of their revenue dependent on different sectors. So unlike NVIDIA at the moment, right? NVIDIA, we can safe to assume, and it's not a bad thing, right? It's right now, most of NVIDIA's and a good portion of NVIDIA's revenue, over 90%, comes from the AI space, right? That's where it's all dependent. Obviously, AI and accelerated computing, but companies like AMD, their revenue is distributed amongst different industries, amongst different segments, which could be seen kind of like a bullish sentiment, because if one of those segments does well, then the stock can, the revenue can kind of go up. And I believe that's where AMD's strength is right now, is that it's a bit diversified. So once their consumer market picks back up in the PC client space, I believe that's going to be well for AMD. Once we see more of the embedded business pick up, that's going to be great news for AMD. But right now, it seems like everybody is just cares about one thing, and that is AI GPUs. So earlier today, we saw that HSBC drops ratings 2 levels to reduce from buy and lowered its price target to $110 from $200. That is insane, and it's crazy, such a massive shift. The main reason is they believe that AMD's upcoming AI chip roadmap is less competitive than previously anticipated, and expect a soft demand on the MI325. So I believe that is going to be the case. I believe their product roadmap is not going to be as strong as many expected. I personally, if you've been watching my channels, I'm not excited about the MI325. I have specifically said in this channel, I believe the big changer for AMD is going to be the MI400, because there's a lot of new technology coming with that chip platform. But obviously that's many years, that's about a year from now. Now the MI350 is a 50-50 there of where I see it successful, but the MI300 and the MI325 are kind of the complete entry plays here from AMD, and I didn't expect much from them. Now, HSBC also lowered their AI GPU revenue forecast for AMD to $8.1 billion, down from $12.3 billion. And this is well below the analyst consensus of $9.5 billion. So we can see this analyst has become very bearish on the stock. Now, again, I believe this is what is going to happen with this company, where just like other AI chip companies, we're going to think, originally, we thought this was the next NVIDIA. Now we think this is a game over. And I think this thought process of this being a game over is what's creating a great buying opportunity, in my opinion. So I do like AMD at these levels, and as long as I can, I will try to dollar cost average more and more into my position. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is NVIDIA did have a CES financial analyst Q&A session on January 7th. Now, I've been pretty busy. If you guys watched my previous episode, I mentioned that I am on kind of vacation work mode right now. I'm out of my normal state and just enjoying and trying to provide some content here and there. So yesterday I didn't really watch the CES the financial Q&A session, and I wanted to read that today. I read it today, and there was a lot of just known information. Nothing, in my opinion, that really popped out to me that I think investors should know. The only thing is NVIDIA is very bullish about the autonomous and robotics market right now, and they believe that market is going to be pretty strong. Jensen also explains why he ended up creating the Digits platform, but we really talked about that in previous episodes. I don't think there's any new information there. The biggest and most important information, in my opinion, came out when there was a question asking about NVIDIA and the ASIC market, and is NVIDIA going to enter this market anytime soon?
Jensen Huang pretty much says that, hey, look, they probably have no thoughts of entering right now. Rather than a custom ASIC for one company, we're building a computing platform for every developer, for every company. And so we're not building a custom ASIC. We're building a computing platform. And the benefits of a computing platform is that you never know what's the next amazing application you're going to attract. And I didn't think about it that way. Obviously, we know that GPUs and these AI products that NVIDIA creates, they have the programmality. But NVIDIA mentions is that, hey, look, is what's going to be the next big thing is going to be made on our computing platform. He also mentions that, hey, look, NVIDIA GPUs are great for various things because they are programmable, something we've discussed in this channel over and over, kind of determine the difference between ASIC and GPUs. Now, what I found pretty interesting is Jensen, I've always known he was very competitive, but it always, even though it still amazes me how competitive he can get. And he mentions, look, there's some evidence that it's hard in forms of building ASIC solutions. Look at the number of startups that have been started and not successful. It's incredibly hard. And the reason for that, it's because it's not a chip problem, right? Many people say as, hey, look, every other chip company is a competitor for NVIDIA. We have all these other players that are really good. And it's not just a chip problem. It's definitely a system problem. And it's definitely a full stack problem. And that's what is very hard to do. The software stack necessarily needs to make one of these systems useful. It's not about 10 engineers. We're talking about thousands of engineers that are going to take years and years to make great. And NVIDIA has done this for numerous years, and they continue to build their software stack solution, their full stack solution. So even if one chip is great at inference 1,000 times faster than NVIDIA, it's not a chip problem. That's not the problem. It's a full stack problem. And then going on into ASIC solution, he mentions that, hey, look, we'll find out in a few years. It takes a couple of 2 years to build something. And let's say the people are doing it for the first time. It takes a couple of 2 to 3 years. And then it's hard to get it the first time right. And so let's say it takes a couple of iterations. We'll find out in a few years. So pretty much Jensen is taunting these other companies that are saying they're going to build their own ASIC solution. There's only one company, in my opinion, that has done it really successfully, and that's Google with their TPUs. Even Amazon, who we keep hearing rumors and reports about their Trainium 2 chip and selling it to companies like Apple and all these others in forms of cloud workloads. So NVIDIA is just saying, hey, look, you guys continue to do your stuff. You're going to take all these years developing. And during that time frame, because I have this huge software stack lead, because I have everybody working on my platform, I know what every AI scientist needs. I know what every ML researcher needs. I know what makes a great product, and you're not going to catch up to me. We're going to be able to see in 2 to 3 years if you thought your approach was the best approach. At the end of the day, you're most likely going to be coming back to me. So I'm paraphrasing, but that's how I read that, right? That's how I see that, and how Jensen is a very, very competitive guy. So obviously, NVIDIA, I've talked about it at 140s. I'm not a huge fan. I just want to share my overall thoughts on stock price, because some people might think just because I'm talking about NVIDIA on a daily basis, I think it's a perma buy. I've always going to say this, NVIDIA is a stock for the patient investors. I mean, less than a month ago, we did kind of get that patience at the stock around less than the 130s. And I believe we are going to continue to get times when it's going to be great for patient investors. Right now, at the 140s, I personally wouldn't buy much. And if I did, it would be a small dollar cost average. Now for AMD, I've talked about it. I'm very bullish at this stock, but the real thing is I don't know when the turnaround story is going to be. I believe AMD is one of those opportunities where I like buying right now. I'm going to stop doing videos from it in the near future, and then out of nowhere, the stock price is going to react, and I'll be glad to say that, hey, look, 6-7 months ago, I was talking about AMD when the whole market hated it. And I believe that's what's going to happen with this company, where it's going to take a lot longer than most anticipate for a true turnaround story. So those are my overall thoughts on today's episode. I do have hopefully a few more episodes coming later this week. Take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.